thank you very much for coming to see me speak to you tonight. I'm going to be talking about schizophrenia. How many people have seen Orange is the New Black's newest season? Does anybody know who Lolly Whitehill is? Yes? Okay, so she is portraying a schizophrenic person who can hear voices, and she is just thinking that the government is out to get her. Another example is if anyone has seen The Soloist with Jamie Foxx, he portrays someone with schizophrenia who's really good at playing the cello. But many people have heard of schizophrenia, but do you really know the truth behind this illness? Today I'm going to kind of go over the history of schizophrenia, the true definition of schizophrenia, signs and symptoms for people who have schizophrenia, and we're going to debunk some of the myths that most people think are true but are actually not. This topic is really important to me because my mom is schizophrenic. I've spent my whole life trying to understand this illness, and it has caused a lot of difficulty, but with the proper education and support and love, anyone with schizophrenia can thrive well in our society. So, according to the Mayo Clinic, schizophrenia is a severe brain disorder in which people interpret reality abnormally. The National Institute of Health defines schizophrenia further by stating that schizophrenia affects how a person thinks, feels, and behaves. People with schizophrenia may seem like they have lost touch with reality. Although schizophrenia is not as common as other medical disorders, the symptoms can be very disabling. There are 5 different types of schizophrenia, which are paranoid schizophrenia, and that's where a lot of people get really bad conspiracy theories. They truly think that the world is out to get them, that their friends and family are always watching them and judging them. Disorganized schizophrenia is a lot of times what you see people who talk to themselves and just say off-the-wall things. Catatonic schizophrenia, residual, and psychoactive. I want to talk to you about the signs and symptoms of schizophrenia. So, a lot of people think that when you are schizophrenic, you hear voices, you see things, you just act crazy all the time. Yes, some of those symptoms are accurate, but not everyone has those symptoms. So things that could happen to someone with schizophrenia would be hearing or seeing something that isn't there, a constant feeling of being watched, inappropriate reactions to situations, changes in personal hygiene, withdrawal from social situations, the inability to sleep or concentrate, or extreme preoccupation with a religion or organization. Schizophrenia has been described in ancient texts as far back as 200 BC in the Book of Hearts, where, according to schizophrenia.com, dementia as well as thought disturbances that are typical in schizophrenia are described in detail. LivingWithSchizophreniaUK.org goes on to claim that references to people who clearly are insane appear in classical writings such as the Bible. The first person to describe schizophrenia was Dr. Emil Kraepelin in 1896. He was doing a study on dementia, and he believed that schizophrenia was a type of younger dementia, so he called it dementia praecox. In 1911, Dr. Eugene Buehler actually figured out that it has nothing to do with dementia because you don't deplete in the mind such as someone who has dementia does. You can actually overcome an episode of schizophrenia. So he went on to start calling it schizophrenia because it's Greek and means split mind, because he believed that a person with schizophrenia could, they just had reality and then they had their own version of reality that they also thought was true. A lot of people kind of believe that split mind means that people with schizophrenia have split personalities, but that's not true. So now that we have an understanding of the origin and the definition, we can move on to talk about some myths that people believe are true about people with schizophrenia. So a lot of times people are afraid of schizophrenic people. Like, just in society, you see someone on the street and obviously like they're talking to themselves and kind of acting weird. The truth is, schizophrenic people are more harmful to themselves than to anyone else, and they're actually 14 times more susceptible to being the victim of a crime. And a lot of times if we see people that are schizophrenic and they're in jails or prison, it's because of really small nonviolent crimes like trespassing or stealing, things like that. Schizophrenia, that's not true. It's not curable. Once you are diagnosed with schizophrenia, you have to take medication to help you regulate yourself and continue to work in society. Some people think that all people with schizophrenia don't hear voices and see things that aren't real. That's not true. My mom doesn't hear voices. She just, whenever she has a psychotic episode, she tends to just think that everyone is watching her. She can't sleep. She just can't function well in society. Schizophrenia is not developed by bad parenting. So if you see someone with schizophrenia, don't assume that their parents raised them up wrong. People with schizophrenia can't do anything like have a job or any responsibilities. That is extremely false. There are plenty of people who are schizophrenic that do perfectly fine. It's just something that is an everyday battle. With medication and proper therapy, you can definitely do well in society. Some famous people that have schizophrenia. Megan Fox says that she struggles with schizophrenia a lot. Abraham Lincoln's wife had schizophrenia. There are a couple of famous football players who are schizophrenic. But in conclusion, I hope that you're now able to separate the facts from the myths of schizophrenia. If you've learned anything from this presentation, I hope that you learned that people who suffer from schizophrenia and other mental illnesses are no less of a human being than you are, and that they deserve your respect. I leave you with this message from the Schizophrenia Commission. It's an info pic from rethink.org, and it says, imagine being bombarded with voices from invisible forces and stripped of your ability to understand what is real and what is not. You discover you cannot trust your senses, your mind plays tricks on you, and your family or friends seem part of a conspiracy to harm you. That's what schizophrenia can be like to someone who has this illness. I just hope that you guys can think about that and apply some of the information that you got today to your everyday lives. So thank you very much.